Friday. It's wet. Drive safely. Good morning to everybody out there. Graveyard shift workers, teachers, students, cops, firefighters, parents. High school state championships this weekend. Shout out to all the participants, especially in Northern California. Archbishop Mitty, girls basketball team, Oakland Tech, girls basketball team, Oakland High, boys basketball team. We got San Domenico, got Half Moon Bay. Probably missing a couple there, but
Jordan Lee from St. Mary's, she scored 47 points in the NorCal D1 championship game.
damn.
She's part of the JC Kids Select program.
Wow.
She's got scholarships all over the place. I forget exactly where she's going, but I wanted to give her a shout out. 47?
47, that's a lot.
47?
That's crazy. That is crazy. Damn.
I know.
47. Sheesh. Could have used her last night. Can she play defense?
I'm sure because she's standing in front of her opponent more than Jordan Poole.
Or Klay Thompson? Or
the,
Ty Jerome?
The play where they ran a high pick and roll and no one dropped to stay with
Ty
Jones.
Yeah. It was awful.
I don't even know what happened.
I wonder if Anthony Slater was there at FedEx for him. Our 95.7 The Game Insider.
Wait, before you go, because now we got food delivered. Thank God. I needed some food.
Yeah.
Right when the game ends, I see a Slater tweet, and you know Slater was ready to pivot. Kings and whoever that were, the Knicks are playing, and he sent a tweet out the second the game was over, and I said, like me, he's ready to change the channel.
Oh, Slater ain't no dummy. He's about to be covering all those key playoff games. Will he cover a Warrior playoff game? I have no idea. Anthony Slater, what's happening, my man?
What's up, Slates?
Where do you think I was last night? I was at Kings Knicks.
Oh, boy.
I like those gray jerseys that they had.
It's not bad. How was the environment up there at Go to One?
It was great last night. They had the rally towels, and the funniest part, it's hilarious. I've gone to now 2 TNT Kings games this year. It's like their first 2 TNT games since 2018. Like that, they hype the crowd, like show the national audience what we're all about. They're just like, hyping that they're on TNT, which is funny because then you go to a Warriors game and like you have to tell people that the game's on TNT.
Oh my God! Did you see Kenny Caraway from ESPN 1320? Was he trying to hype the fans up?
No, and I hope he doesn't mind me revealing it. But everybody's watching Warriors Grizzlies pregame in the media room, and he was going after Draymond Green a little bit pregame. I think Kings fans are feeling themselves. Let me tell you.
Well, Kenny has never been a Draymond Green fan, and outside of the Bay Area bubble, hell, in the Bay Area bubble, there's not a lot of Draymond Green fans. But what you think of that? Let's start there with your Draymond Green, Dillon Brooks dust up. What's your take on that, Slates?
I think that it was well timed by Draymond to hype the game, right? We haven't had many regular season games, and I'm not, obviously Warriors fans were pumped to watch the game regardless yesterday, but I think there was a little bit more national appeal to that game because Draymond, dragged a personal feud into it, and it was on TNT, and, he gets a check from TNT also. I don't mind it. I did expect probably a better performance from the Warriors coming off of that. But it did seem to hype Dillon Brooks, and he still had a bad shooting night. What did he finish, like 5 of 14, something like that?
6 of 15, 1 of 7 from 3.
Okay. That ain't too bad for Dillon Brooks, right? That's probably an above-average night for him. But he made some defensive plays, and I thought it fueled Memphis, which, I guess in retrospect you can be like, you didn't want to do that. But I don't mind it, really. I mean, to me it's just off-court histrionics and probably adds some juice to a game, like I said, a regular season game that doesn't usually have it, but they didn't really back it up on the court.
Well, yeah, that's kind of my biggest takeaway. And look, it's not the end of the season, all right? And it feels like the sky's falling with every loss because of how jumbled all of the standings are. They're like, a couple games out of being in the 10th spot, which would put them in the playing game. It would be horrible. But like that game, it's like one of 7 or 8 all year that I expect them to get up for, given all the smack talk and everything that's going on, given that who's out, who's available. I can't believe the performance I saw yesterday. And why should I even be surprised? But, like, honestly, Anthony Slater, like, what? How can I take this team serious? I feel like they don't even take the regular season serious.
Well, so remember, I'm on with you guys last week, and I thought a parade was coming again. But, they go on that 5-0 homestand.
Guilty.
And a lot of that was like really locked in defensive game planning, number one, but also execution, focus. They did the boxing one on Lillard and had that huge second half. They They sagged off Westbrook, and everyone did their assignments well. On that homestand, I believe they had like a 99 defensive rating. It was, you felt like they were flipping the switch, turning the corner from a coaching perspective defensively and from a team perspective, and then boom, they're getting Steph back. And, Steph has turned himself, at least last season, into a very competent defensive player, typically a pretty focused one. So you thought a good road trip was coming, and then defensively it wasn't. I mean, look at these first quarters. 33, 40, and 48 points for the three teams on the road trip in the first quarter. They're down 10. Like, you could just set your watch to like 5 minutes into the game. They're down 10 every game. It's weird. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I was laughing with your producer coming in that, next they're going to beat the Bucks and Suns because it's at home. And if I come on next Tuesday, you guys are going to be like, I think they've solved it. Here they come again. So, I mean, it's what they are this year.
Slater, you know us too well, man. I was feeling it, man. I was drinking the Kool-Aid, and last night happened. I swear to God, I'll admit this, Shasky, I tried to beat Slater to the tweet. This is the 7th straight game in which the Warriors had fallen behind by 10-plus points in the first half. I tried to beat Slater to the tweet. He had it in the drafts, ready to roll, because we all knew what was happening. First quarter, they're down by an average of 12 points in the last 7 games. I just don't get the slow starts. But also, I don't get what's going on with Jordan Poole right now. Can you explain that one, Anthony Slater? Because he's not playing defense. He's unsure of himself on offense, indecisive. Jordan Poole's lost right now.
Well, quickly on the start yesterday, Kirk criticized himself for it, but the starting lineup choice is odd, right? 3 guards,
so odd.
Thompson at power forward, Draymond at center. They're like posting up Xavier Tillman against DiVincenzo in the first quarter, and I mean that has a lot to do. I just think with yesterday specifically. As far as Poole goes, yeah, I mean it's been a rocky season for him. I mean, we're talking about a high volume, high difficulty 3-point shooter who's below 33% now, I think, from 3, which means that's considered kind of a low level 3-point shooter on a high volume. That's not good. He's up there in the top 10 in turnovers per game. Like that's just what the numbers say. The eye test is it's even more ambitious with the 3-point attempts, 3-point jacks at times than it should be. It is sloppier turn. I mean, how about some of those turnovers? The late first half ones, not just him, by the way. Even the one that everyone remembers, this Draymond, Dillon Brooks little scuffle or whatever you want to call it under the hoop. Remember the play that led to that? They just like rolled the ball to Dillon Brooks, basically. Poole is a big part of just the sloppy turnovers. Look, I think it goes back to preseason, right? I mean, it's a topic that gets reminded about plenty, usually when they're on losing streaks, but this season got thrown off its axis in that preseason practice, and I would consider Poole's season getting thrown off its axis, one of the reasons.
You think that lingers? You think that's lingering, Anthony?
I just think it set a weird tone. I think that it really like threw off their prep time. You talk to people behind the scenes, and it's like their preseason was the Japan trip, and then that dropped in like their second practice after they were back, and then that turned into like a behind the scenes saga when the tape leaked and there was like investigations going on, and then they got to game 1 of the regular season, and it was like they felt like they were 2 weeks behind the rest of the league, and then they go 3-7 to start. They end up having a bench Wiseman, and I think the season just gets completely derailed there and turns into what it has. So I just think, logistically that hurt a lot of things. And then, the other stuff's intangible, right? I mean, they don't talk about it. I'd say we talk about it more than they talk about it to this day. But yeah, I mean, it probably has a lingering effect, right? Wouldn't we all think?
Yeah, I think so. And just seeing Curry and Clay on the bench as they zoomed in on them, it's just nothing sat right. Their demeanor, the vibe, the feel, I don't know. The whole thing's odd to me. I want to ask you about Curry for a second. He comes back. Obviously, it coincides with the losses. Better opponents. They're trying to work him in. It also coincides with Klay Thompson not looking as good. He was carrying this team. No one's going to sit here and say Curry makes them worse. That's not what I'm going at. I'm not saying that he's not great. He is great. In terms of how they structure this team, not just for this year, but moving forward, can he be the dude to carry them throughout the regular season? like he has in years past? It feels like that's got to evolve slightly.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's where the Poole discussion they paid him what they paid him for 123, which doesn't start till next year, but it's a statement when you give him that contract that he needs to pick up the slack not only when Steph's off the court, but when Steph's out of the lineup. And they survived really well without Steph. We're 14-12, I believe, is the number, including 36 in their last 19 without Steph.
So then why is it so clunky when he comes back?
Yeah, it's not really him.
No, I'm not saying it's him.
Yeah.
But it's
I know what you're saying. It's we're almost trying to solve
exactly
what it is. I mean, it's mostly the defense. It's no Andrew Wiggins. Really, no good Andrew Wiggins since December at this point.
Right.
And he's second, third best player you would consider. The early in the season it was the bench, right? Remember how big a problem the bench was?
Right.
Yep.
Month and a half. That's again not that big of an issue. A lot of these bench guys play really well, when Steph's not there. So to your question, I think Steph is still one of the 5-10 most influential players. I mean, you kind of you somewhat have to build an offense around him, but in a lot of ways you got to build it around Draymond. And Draymond's odd skill set at this time.
Can we stop on Draymond for a second? There's so much made of the coach and the lineups and the rosters and the this and the that. What about how he handles someone like Draymond Green on a daily basis? Like, it feels to me like there's no checks and balances when it comes to Draymond Green and anything. Like, for example, the other day with that situation with him and Jordan Poole, and it's like, he can't be doing that. Like, there's a reverberation amongst the roster, whether it's young guys, old guys, like however anyone wants to slice this up. Like, I do feel like they let Draymond get away with anything that he wants, and there's no repercussions. And I feel like that has really affected this core of the team.
Well, what's your answer to that? Like, he lights him up on the sidelines, he benches him. I mean, he benched him in the finals, and Draymond talked about like, ooh, if that went one way instead of the other, he had lost that game.
Yeah, but he was bad in the like. There was a moment where it was like they're better with him off the floor. Like, I know that he doesn't want to admit that, Draymond, but like it's all about the coach maximizing the roster, and right now they're not doing it. So I'm just looking at how you're dealing with people, and I guess the domino effect of that. And I just think something's got to change.
Well, look, Steve Kerr's trying to guide this Titanic ship to its dock without it crashing, and I just think smart calculation by him is like, don't blow it up during the regular season. If you just start, Draymond is sitting on a contract season right now. I mean, stuff has felt, very tenuous. I mean, go back to the preseason when they, had him step away from the team, and Kerr gave the press conference, called it the biggest crisis. And a lot of people were opinionating that the end of Draymond not only might be at the end of the season, but might be then, right? There was some thought, like, does he even come back? Steve Kerr has opted, this franchise has opted to try to, steer this to the end of this season, try to give this, and I think properly give this 4-time championship core one final ride in the playoffs. They have never been beaten since they started this run by a West team in the playoffs. So allow them to run that out. And part of that is like, let Draymond be Draymond. I mean, he had Steve in a subtle way yesterday was kind of asked about Draymond doing the Dillon Brooks, back session that upped the energy level of the game, and he was like, look, I mean, like, it's just, you have to let people be people, and if you want the good of Draymond, you have to live with that side of Draymond. And he's at 15 technicals. Steve's like, I don't even worry about him getting 16. It's kind of just, he's always gone up to the edge and not gone over the edge on technicals. He might go over the edge, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I'd ask you, Chesky, like, what do you think? What should Steve do?
I mean, I think this
don't you think they're too far down the rabbit hole with Draymond Green?
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
I mean, at this point, what are you going to do?
Well, but Bonte, you got to take back control of your organization because now it's the law of diminishing returns. It's so far beyond the point of return that it's affected Moody, Kuminga, clearly Wiseman, all these other guys. These guys are playing on eggshells. Everyone is. And I just throw my hands up and say, at what point are we going to allow this one guy to basically wreck the confidence of everyone else on my roster that I need?
That's not fair to Draymond Green. That's not fair.
I think there's a big part of it.
I don't think that's fair to blame Draymond Green, wrecking the confidence of the youngsters, Anthony. I'm not with that. I don't subscribe to that.
I think if we go back to last season, like they reform into the number one defense in the league, and certainly even that bled over into the playoffs because of like his standard defensively and what he brings. So, there's the good and bad of that. But he, especially when they're winning, demands a level of excellence and brains on the court from his teammates that it can grate at times. People, particularly in moments of losing and in stretches of losing. That can do it. But, when they're winning, when they go on extended winning streaks, even, during that last homestand when they're playing absurd defense, a lot of that's him too. And again, the standards that he demands. So, again, it's the good and the bad. And, when you talk about a reckoning and when does it over the line, that's an off-season decision. Right. That's an off-season decision for Draymond Green, who has a player option and may decide personally, hey, it's the time to leave, or the organization, may decide that. But for now, for the rest of this season, I think it's proper for them to ride it out because, it's deserved. I think this court deserves to ride it out.
I'm kind of with you there. Real quick before we let you go, Andrew Wiggins. Anything on Wiggs? They've been so tight-lipped on the situation. What is it now? 11 games he's missed later, or has it got to 12?
It's 3 weeks. I'm kind of counting it in
weeks,
in days because he missed the All-Star break too, right?
Yeah.
He was coming back after the All-Star break, but I believe every Tuesday is a week. So, gosh, when I get my days mixed up, so it's Friday now. We're sitting at like almost 3.5 weeks at this point.
Wow.
Yeah,
and we just don't know anything,
and we don't know anything, right, Slater? I mean, you don't even know anything. I mean, nobody knows anything about Andrew Wiggins. After these losses pile up, a loss like that last night, do you hear anything from the organization where they're maybe getting a little antsy about the Andrew Wiggins situation?
Yeah, again, I reach out to people, pretty periodically on it, and is there even a timeline? It is obviously a family thing. They're being very protective of it. Wiggins himself has always been and remains a very private person. So it's clearly of his wishes that none of this is in the public. And they just continue to, I'd say there still remains confidence, like you will see him at some point this season. But anytime I ask, and when I ask timetable, I'm not saying, hey, when's Andrew Wiggins playing again? It's like, when is Andrew Wiggins maybe going to be back in the facility? Because my assumption is he hasn't touched a basketball court in 3.5 weeks either. So it's like, he's going to need some time to get in the facility, do some Rick Celebrini workouts, and eventually probably several days before he gets cleared to actually get back in a game. So I'm just wondering when he's back in San Francisco in the facility. And I'm just still being told, like, no clarity. We don't know. There's, we'll see.
We'll see. GP2, how far away is he?
Yeah, he didn't go on the road trip. I didn't see Rick Celebrini either, which signals to me that, they're cranking up some of his workouts, staying in the facility, which I would say is a good sign in some ways. But I believe he was originally ruled out through March 13th, if I have that right. So he's still got a handful more games before you'll even get, one of those press releases that might say, hey, he's being reintegrated into the contact practices. So not any time in the near future.
All right, Slater. There's a text here from...
Thanks, Anthony.
There's a text here on the Xfinity Mobile text line from the 510. No, it's not from the 510. It's basically saying the Warriors are so bad, Slater is now covering the Kings. It's not Kings right. Yeah, 510. Warriors so bad, Anthony is now a Kings beat reporter. And now Kenny Caraway's loving it. Now you're going on his show all the time. Go figure.
Well, let me just tell you this. When I was covering the Thunder and Kevin Durant went to the Warriors, I saw the writing on the wall. I was like, I should probably go cover the team that might, rattle off some titles. It's typically good to be around the most important stuff going around the NBA. Well, I mean, if this season and as you peer into the future, you start to wonder, how the league is shifting. And right now there's a 2 seed in Northern California and there's a 500 team battling for jostling for play and positioning. So, yeah, I mean, I went to in some ways, the bigger game last night.
Wow.
That hurts my soul.
I'll see you tomorrow at Chase Center, Anthony. Good stuff.
All right, fellas.
All right, man. 95.7 The Game Insider, Anthony Slater, here on The Roast.